Welcome to the Like a Doss podcast, where Ronnie Doss shares insights regarding life, leadership, and personal development. For more of our resources, visit ronniedoss.com. Now, let's join the podcast.
Hey there, it's Ronnie Doss. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about this one word, and you're going to understand why I'm talking about it in just a minute. But this one word is something that has been so important to me that I have thought about so often over the past couple of years that we created a resource for it. We have a one-day training that we call this. It's the title of our one-day trainings. And I want to talk to you about it, about what it means, because I do genuinely believe for every single one of us, there is another level. If I didn't believe there was another level for all of us in every area, when it came to our relationships, when it came to our finances, when it came to our physical health, when it comes to our mental health, how we feel spiritually, how we are emotionally, all these different things, there's another level. That's what I believe. Of course, that's my lens, but I do believe it's very true. And I have seen people transform their lives in a matter of days. They started to change when they had an epiphany, when they had an aha moment where they started to see that they had limited themselves before because of some story, something they made up because of a scenario or a situation that they went through, some past event. And they started to say, hey, wait a minute, that's not necessarily true for me. And in that moment, they had this epiphany, and it's like the light started to shine in, and they started to see what was possible. And when that happens, and when you're around people that are having these type of things happen, I'm telling you, it gets in your blood. It has for me, and I love helping people to see what's possible. But the fact of the matter is, many people just don't. They're so locked into doing how they've done it because I believe there's so many things that are being projected onto us. When you look at social media, all the advertisements, all the colors, sounds, images, all the people telling you to buy this product, have this thing, that this is going to be the secret to you being happy. But I know it's not true. You see, I read a quote recently that said, if all of the accomplishments of your life to date haven't fulfilled you, what makes you think one more is going to? And I think that that's very true because sometimes we're chasing after things so much and we're so locked in to doing it as a result of what other people want for us that we never actually emerge and come into view ourselves. And so that's the word that I want to talk to you about is emerge. And that's the name of our one-day trainings. And so we've got one coming up in Scottsdale, Arizona, March 7th. We've got another one coming up June the 6th, I believe. It's a Saturday, June 6th or June 5th. It's that first Saturday of June. We've got one coming up there. We've got one coming up in Washington, Seattle, Washington area. That's in April. You can go ronniedoss.com/events and you can get registered for that. I would recommend coming to these one-day events. They are life-changing. And we've seen people really make some awesome things happen. So let me talk to you about emerging. Why don't we do more? Why don't we do more? Like, why don't we become more a lot of times? Why is it we continue to reinforce old behaviors over and over and over again? Well, one of the reasons for it is I think it feels very safe when you can start to identify the things that you know around you in your day-to-day. It starts to feel very familiar. And when you know, think of it, family, familiar, it's people that we know, that we're close to. You feel comfortable with family. You feel comfortable, in a sense, with what's familiar. But you can become so familiar with what it is that you know that you never actually break the routine and start to develop what I call a new normal, where you project yourself into something new, put yourself into a stressful type of situation, or what we call intentional tension, and then see what can emerge, what can come into view from you, like how you can grow into something else. Now, of course, I believe we're all growing. We're learning things every single day. If you keep your eyes open, your ears open, you're going to learn something new every day. Nothing wrong with that. But I believe that there are ways that we can absolutely accelerate ourselves into another level of being. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. This is the emerge concept. The actual definition of emerge means to move out of or away from something and come into view. You know, my wife and I, we like to go to Las Vegas. We love to go watch the shows. The restaurant's so awesome there. So many things to see. And it's a pretty short drive, actually, from Scottsdale. It's easy. But I know when you're winding through the desert from where we live, if you go over to Vegas, you wind through the desert for a while. And then all of a sudden, you haven't seen anything for a while. And then all these lights start to appear. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. It has a presence about it. If you've ever been to Vegas, you know it's all lit up. It's all lights and sounds and colors. It's a great place to visit for a couple of days because after a couple of days, you're ready to go home, or at least I am. My wife would agree on that. But when you come in, it's like all of a sudden, these things come into view. And I think that that's how we would want our life to be, not so that other people can see us, but yet so that we can see the world. It's like you climb the ladder, not so other people see you, but so that you can see from a different perspective what the world has to offer. I think about it often when someone passes away. I think when they shift across what we'd say is the Rainbow Bridge. That's what my daughter's school calls it. If someone passes away, she goes to a Montessori school. And if someone dies or a pet dies, they say it crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And, if we cross the Rainbow Bridge and we look back at the end of our life, I think we'd probably see things from a very different perspective. I think many of the things that we got caught up in, many of the things that we were worried about, stressed about, angry about, afraid of, I think we would see that they weren't worthy of our attention. And it's the old saying, if everything's live and die, you die a lot, and I do think that you got to get after it so that you can live. But I think when that perspective shifts at the end, we would probably have a very, very different way of showing up and looking at things if we could really see things from a really elevated perspective, an elevated spot. And so as we emerge in our life, we're coming into view, we're raising ourselves up, we're raising the standard for ourselves, not so that we can be seen, not for accolades, not to be patted on the back, not for somebody to go, yeah, that's it, you're the best, because that's a whole ego thing. But yet we're climbing this ladder so that we can see the world a little differently and hopefully neutralize some of the worries and some of the anxieties and some of the things that have been holding us down and holding us back. A lot of times when I get around people, I hear them, and so many people are negative. They're just negative. You can hear it in their voice. You can feel their energy. And they don't know it, because once you're that, you fall into this character, because you can shift into a very excited, very motivated, very inspired character with the right pictures in front of you, the right person talking to you. This is why people will listen to podcasts. This is why people will go to a certain event. They'll go to a conference or a seminar to get excited, because they know that there's a different character that they want to shift into. What we're hoping to do is that we come into view in this new character so that we can start to be that more and more, that we're more inspired. But many people aren't. They're just negative. And so if you listen to people very carefully, there's always a negative slant to how they talk. There's a little bit of a negative energy of, well, we know it's probably not going to work this way. We can't do this. And that negative slant is an energy that I believe is so conditioned into us when we give permission to it, that it's who we actually become. And, it's like the fish in the water. A fish doesn't really know what water is until they get taken out of it, right? Because they're born into it. I think sometimes when we're so negative, we never actually emerge out of it because it's become who we are. You see, you can think that certain characteristics are who you are. You can hear yourself be negative. You can hear yourself play what we call the victim character, or stepping into some character to where you don't feel empowered. Like, yes, you can take your life on. Yes, you can produce great things. Yes, you can be healthy. Yes, you can be financially independent. Yes, you can be inspired. Yes, you can help other people, be an inspiration to other people, a teacher, a mentor. You can be those things. But when you don't give yourself permission to do that, and you only do things how you've always done it, you never move out of or away from that something, like the definition of emerge actually means. And the more you see yourself that way, the more you convince yourself that that is ultimately who you are. And the fact of the matter is, it's an absolute lie. It's a lie. How do I know that? Well, you can have a circumstance or a situation that you go through in your life that absolutely changes the trajectory of your life. I have friends who have lost children. The most awful thing that you can imagine. I have heard that they have gone through these things. I've seen where they've gone through these things, and it's shifted how they see their life. And they've made it about serving other people. One of my really great friends, Dan, has been a great mentor of mine for many years. He lost his son years ago. And he says, he has this phrase that he uses, and he says, so what? And it's not so what I lost my child, because trust me, it hurt him on the deepest of levels. But he came from this place of, so what am I going to do with it? So what am I going to do? Am I going to continue to serve the world and make a difference and help people to see their lives differently so that they'll love the people that they're closest to a little more, so they'll rid themselves of some resentment and some bitterness, and to see what's possible for them and work together better with the people on their job, in their home, in their community? That's what he would say. When I've heard him say that and share the stories of losing his son and how he's shifted into this so what mindset, man, it's very powerful. And I think that all of us have the potential to shift, and hopefully we don't have to go through some tragedy of losing someone or having something awful go on for us with our health or in our finances, in our careers, for us to be willing to shift. You and I can shift right now, today. You can decide that things can be different for you, and from that place, start to create something new. You see, when you start to do something a little bit different, you start to build a little bit more momentum. And as you build a little more momentum, that's where you start to be excited about what it is that you see, what's coming into view. And hopefully, it's you that's coming into view. Hopefully, you're emerging away from some old form, some old shell, some old avatar that you've created, some old character that maybe you got so used to that that's who you think you are. But hopefully, you'll do something that shifts you out of it. Let me give you an example. Some people would say that money rules their life. And so because money rules their life, they don't believe they're going to have a whole lot of it. They don't give, they don't contribute, they don't invest, they don't share it. And so what they do is they wind up choking out the currency that they have that actually flows into their life. Now, I believe we need to be putting money back into things that we believe in. I think if you believe in yourself, your market, your brand, you should invest back into that. I think it's so important to do that. Some people invest into properties. That's important. Some people invest into the stock market. That's important. But you've got to keep your money moving in a direction that you want it to go, or else it's going to go in a direction that you didn't really intend. And then you won't have that much. And then the next thing you know, because you don't feel like you have much, you're in a scarcity place, you're trying to lock on to every dollar that you can get, you actually choke the life out of the currency by not directing it in the right direction. You see, that's one of the things. So what could you do? Well, a small thing you could start doing is start contributing, start investing, buy one stock in something, right? There's all sorts of different things that you can do now. You can invest in different money pools where people are buying real estate properties together as groups. You can invest in that. You can invest in yourself, putting money back into your business, what it is that you'd like to grow. Because if you don't do this, right, and you don't do things a little differently, what I have learned is the days turn into weeks, weeks to months, months into years, and these patterns start to be more and more reinforced. With your physical health, you know how you change your physical health? One rep at a time, one step at a time. Some people say, I don't have time to work out. That's crap. You could get down on the floor right now and do a push-up, one sit-up, and say, well, I did one push-up and one sit-up today. Tomorrow, I will do 2. You do 2 sit-ups, 2 push-ups tomorrow. The next day, you do 3 and 3. You start, you build some momentum, and the next thing you know, you look up one day, and you come into view as a different person. You see your relationships, well, we've been married for a while, things are just, they've kind of leveled out. Okay, great. Well, go on a date somewhere you haven't gone before. Make sure you're investing back into the marriage, doing some fun things, have some conversations you haven't had, talk about some things that you haven't talked about, go some places you haven't gone. Do things that are going to break you out of the pattern and help you to emerge. If you don't do it, there's not going to be anybody else that comes along and does it for you. That's what I have learned. No one is here to rescue you. And so you're going to have to help yourself. And so in all of this, I just wanted to give you a little insight on this idea of emerging. I believe that there is another level for every single one of us, and we can emerge into something new. This is Ronnie Doss. I hope you've gotten some great stuff out of this. If you'd love to come to one of our one-day events, our Emerge events, we still have some seats available for March the 7th in Scottsdale, Arizona. We've got April in the Seattle, Washington area. We've got June in Scottsdale, Arizona. RonnieDoss.com/events. Go there. If you'd love to have some of our video programs, our website, RonnieDoss.com, has got so many. We have our DIG program there that's got hundreds of videos to help you stay on track, things you can share with your team. We have something called a huddle program. We have something called the fundamentals of leadership. These are sessions, video sessions with workbooks to go along with it. Get some of this stuff. It will help you to see yourself, your team, and what's possible for you differently, because we'd love to be on the journey with you. Thank you so much. If you got anything out of this today, please forward it, like it, share it, do whatever it is that you do. We appreciate you, and we look forward to being on the journey with you. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.